The illusion has shattered. For years, the world watched in surprise as China's skyline exploded with towers. Its GDP charted relentless climbs, and its middle class grew with unshakable confidence. The Chinese model was the envy of developing nations and the paranoia of global powers. But now, something is cracking beneath the concrete. Quietly, but unmistakably. In a rare and uncharacteristically serious warning, the International Monetary Fund has issued what could be its most damning verdict yet on the state of China's economy. And this time, it's not coming from critics on the outside, but from respected economists once accused of being too soft on Beijing. Their message? The age of peak China is over. So what really happened? What went wrong in the world's second-largest economy? And why are even the most cautious global institutions sounding the alarm? In this video, let's break it down. Ken Rogoff and Yuanchen Yang, two economists with deep ties to the IMF, have painted a picture that's hard to ignore and even harder to sugarcoat. Their recent report doesn't merely critique China's real estate sector. It signals the collapse of a foundational pillar of China's rise. For 3 decades, real estate was the engine of China's miraculous growth. From the post-1990s boom to the massive post-2008 stimulus surge, construction kept cities alive and local governments flush with cash. It was so central that by 2021, real estate accounted for over 25% of China's GDP. But that engine, Rogoff and Yang argue, has begun to seize. The signs are everywhere. A decade of relentless building has led to an oversupply so massive that per capita housing space in China now exceeds that of any major European nation. A shocking fact given China's much lower GDP per capita. Smaller cities in particular are drowning in empty apartments, and the era of ever-rising demand is over. The ground beneath the market is no longer solid. However, back in 2020, the very idea that China's housing market might collapse was dismissed by many experts. Prices were still climbing, developers were expanding, and China's international prestige was growing. Yet Rogoff and Yang warned that trouble was brewing. Their earlier paper, Peak China Housing, outlined exactly the structural risks we are seeing now, and was widely ignored. What was once dismissed as alarmism has become a reality. By 2018, price-to-income ratios in cities like Beijing and Shenzhen were already twice those of London or Singapore, and 3 times that of New York. At the same time, household debt was skyrocketing, from under 20% of GDP in 2008 to over 60% by 2023. That's a 3 times jump in just 15 years. Meanwhile, inequality exploded. A growing class of wealthy Chinese invested in second and third homes, while younger citizens were priced out entirely. This wasn't just a housing bubble. It was a societal fault line, and it was growing deeper by the day. You see, China's real estate boom always had diminishing returns built into its DNA, but few expected the slowdown to be so sharp. As the IMF now makes clear, the growth that once came from rapid urbanization and construction can no longer be replicated. In saturated markets, new development does not create wealth, it drains it. Especially in third-tier cities, where overbuilding has already turned bustling developments into ghost zones, real estate is no longer delivering economic value. Prices are falling, buyers are waiting, developers are collapsing. And yet, the sector still employs 15% of China's labor force, making a clean exit impossible without causing social unrest. Scholars have suggested a green pivot, redirecting construction to sustainable infrastructure. But the authors are skeptical. The size of the sector, they argue, makes such a transition nearly impossible to scale quickly. It's not just an economic dilemma, it's a political one. Interestingly, the biggest bombshell isn't just the collapse of a housing market, it's the death of a narrative that China's growth would slow gently, then stabilize. According to the IMF analysis, This isn't a temporary contraction. It's the beginning of a new era of slow, uneven, and fragile growth. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Real estate was never just about apartments. It was a vehicle for household wealth, a fiscal tool for local governments, and a confidence machine for the middle class. Now, with real estate shrinking and no replacement engine in sight, China's broader economic model is being exposed. Consumption remains weak, youth unemployment is surging, and geopolitical headwinds are closing off export-led strategies. This isn't just a cyclical downturn, this is structural. And interestingly, while China's economic model is under scrutiny at home, another front has opened overseas, one with equally high stakes and deeper geopolitical overtones. TikTok, the global video-sharing giant owned by Chinese firm ByteDance, is once again at the center of a storm. This time, it's not just facing public backlash or media skepticism. It's facing an existential threat on U.S. soil. A new law, effective January 19th, has placed TikTok in an impossible position: divest ownership or disappear from the U.S. market. App stores like Google and Apple have already suspended downloads and updates. TikTok's mobile presence is effectively frozen, while its web version barely keeps it alive. And President Donald Trump made it even worse. In a surprise move, Trump offered TikTok a temporary lifeline, suggesting that a joint venture with a 50% U.S. stake could allow the app to survive. But this isn't a peace offering, it's leverage. The deeper issue isn't viral videos or teen dances. It's data, propaganda, and control. U.S. lawmakers continue to voice fears that TikTok is a gateway for the Chinese Communist Party to access American user data or shape online narratives. TikTok denies it. China denies it. But Washington isn't interested in words anymore. It wants ownership or removal. What we are seeing is the commercial face of Cold War 2.0, a fight not just for territory or trade, but for digital loyalty and psychological influence. And TikTok is just the beginning. Last week, the U.S. Department of Commerce finalized new rules targeting connected vehicles, essentially smart cars. These are vehicles packed with cameras, GPS, microphones, and sensors, many of which are manufactured or operated with components tied to China or Russia. The verdict? If it's smart and Chinese, it's suspicious. Starting in 2027 for software and 2030 for hardware, any vehicle with links to Chinese or Russian tech firms will be restricted from U.S. markets, even if assembled on American soil. That means EVs, connected navigation systems, and potentially even driver assistance software could be blocked under these new rules. The reason? Security. Former Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo put it bluntly. Cars today aren't just steel on wheels, they're computers. Computers that, in the wrong hands, could spy, track, or even sabotage. The U.S. isn't willing to take the risk, and is now shaping automotive regulation to exclude entire nations from its technological bloodstream. Predictably, Beijing lashed out, calling the decision economic coercion. But beneath the public statements, both sides know what's happening. America is walling off its digital infrastructure, and China is being written out of the blueprint. And this time, the road ahead leads to confrontation, not compromise. But things don't end here. While the world focuses on China's property crash and global tech wars, a more human and emotionally explosive crisis is erupting within its borders, and it's hitting closer to home than the government expected. In recent weeks, the Chinese Ministry of Public Security has faced rising anger from families of Chinese nationals trafficked into digital slavery rings in northern Myanmar. Lured with fake job offers, these victims have been forced to work in brutal scam operations run by transnational crime syndicates, often suffering beatings, threats, and near-total isolation. Among them was actor Wang Xing, whose abduction shocked the public and turned simmering concern into outright outrage. Facing a flood of social media posts, viral petitions, and cancelled flights to Thailand, up 155% ahead of Lunar New Year, Chinese authorities were forced to respond. They have announced intensified rescue efforts, claiming over 53,000 suspects have been arrested and dozens of cross-border networks dismantled. But for the families of those still missing, this isn't enough. What's driving the anger is not just the trafficking crisis itself, but the perception that Beijing was too slow, too silent, and too distracted to act until public pressure made it impossible to ignore. And that raises a darker question. If the Chinese state can't protect its own citizens, either from scam networks or collapsing housing markets, what does it stand for? In just 1 week, we have seen 4 interconnected cracks in the myth of modern China. Each story is different, but the pattern is the same. China is no longer too big to challenge, and the world is no longer too afraid to try. The age of deference is ending, and with it, perhaps, the illusion that the Chinese model was unshakable. Whether this becomes a gentle landing or a historic collapse depends not just on what Beijing does next, but on how much pressure the world is willing to apply. And it seems that pressure is only just beginning. Do you trust the IMF's report on China and that the threat is real? Or do you feel the IMF is trying to create panic against China? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on whether China has the ability to contain the internal meltdown and fight Trump at the same time. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.